Devin. That's Brad. And today we are joined by the man, the myth, the legend himself, John Cooper. How we doing today?
I'm good, man. I'm all pumped to be here.
Oh, we're happy to have you, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for coming to the Big E.
Oh, yeah. You know, we never come out all the way out to the east.
Really?
Well, I shouldn't say never. Very seldom. Mm-hmm. So I had a lot of tweets. People were like, coming to the Big E. And, you know, on your list, you don't always know where you're going. So
Yeah.
saying, the Big E. What's the Big E? And I didn't know that they meant
The West Springfield, yeah.
So I'm really excited to be here, see the fans, give them a little something.
I love it. I love it. So we're going to start off real quick. Where you from and what was life growing up like there?
Oh, okay. I'm from Memphis.
Okay.
Yeah, Memphis, Tennessee.
All right, makes sense. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Nah, because you said you reside in Wisconsin now, right?
That's true.
I've never met too many people from Wisconsin.
Yeah, me neither.
That's a southern accent.
They don't sound like me. They don't sound like, yeah, from Wisconsin. Up in Wisconsin, they say.
It's like a can
Yeah,
afterwards.
cheese and brats. Yeah, cheese and brats and beers.
And Packers.
And
that's
Packers.
what
Oh,
it is.
Lord. Geez, you have to marry. If you marry, I married into Wisconsin.
Yeah.
You're a Packer fan if you marry in, or you're out.
So if you come in with any purple on, it's like you're out the house immediately.
Oh, yeah, you're out.
What about Titans? Were you a Titan fan growing
Well,
up?
I actually moved. Let's see. Well, I didn't move. Let's see. The Titans probably started up before I.
Because
Right
they're an
before I
expansion
moved.
team.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
the Oilers left Houston around. I ain't even gonna say the year because I was not even a twinkle in my pop's eye in that time. But let's be around
Well,
that.
I won't say what year I'm talking about either, but I grew up in Memphis before there were Titans. The only Titans was Clash of the Titans in 1979. Anyway, that's pop culture that nobody cares about. But anyway, where I grew up, Memphis, man. Memphis is, funny enough, if you're interested. Because people were like, Memphis, you had all that music culture. I'm like, no, I was not allowed to be around the music culture. No rock and roll, no drums, no guitar.
Really?
Yes, the Bible Belt. And they viewed anything close to rock and roll as like demonic, satanic, the devil's music. So I grew up knowing church music and classical. And that was it. Yeah, I mean, my friends listen to rock music, of course. I mean, I knew rock music, but I wasn't allowed to bring it home.
Wow, it's like being lactose intolerant in Wisconsin.
That's like, you're messed up if you're like up, and they throw you away if you're.
Gee, well, I mean, you got Minnesota next door. It ain't too bad.
Yeah.
But going off of that, because you're in that area where it's just such a huge musical influence as far as culture goes, and you can't get anywhere near it. Who brought you to the dark side?
The dark side. Man, let's see. All my friends were listening to metal. Maybe I should start at the beginning. I was 5 years old. Well, my mom was a piano teacher, so I took piano and voice from my mom. And I had never heard of, what you might call contemporary music.
Yeah.
My friend had this thing that he's like, you got to check out. It's called MTV. And I was like, what's MTV? He's like, it's music television, man. So he's like, you got to see this. So my first song I ever heard is Beat It, Michael Jackson.
Oh, okay.
And I was just like...
Quite the introduction.
Oh, I was floored. I mean, yeah. So, came home. My mom loved music. And I'd been taught that music glorifies God. That God created music. So I came home thinking my mom was going to be happy. I'm like, I heard this new music today. And it was like this. I was like, beat it. And my mom gave me the holiest butt whooping of all time for singing the devil's music. And so from there, I didn't listen to rock music until about 6th grade. When in 6th grade is when you start playing sports a lot. Well, a lot of people start playing sports. Me and all my buddies started playing sports, and they'd be like, "Man, turn on some Metallica, turn on some Crew, and whatever." And that was my first foray into metal. And I loved metal. I loved it, and rock, pop, whatever. So I didn't really get involved in the Memphis music scene until college, which is when I discovered all of the great blues artists that we had, and what would be known later as kind of the Memphis sound, which is a little bit of blues mixed with horns and soul. Sam and Dave. I don't know if you know Sam and Dave. Hold on, I'm coming.
Oh yeah.
Or Soul Man, of course. That's Sam and Dave.
I know that. My mom played that.
I've been watching you for days now, baby.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, that's Sam and Dave.
I'm gonna have to do some Googling when I get back.
Oh, man.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Man. It's kind of soul, but it's also R&B. It's Memphis.
Yeah.
So I discovered that late in life, which I hope got on me a little bit.
Wow, because all that influence. A question I have for you, especially with the metal background and stuff like that, how was it especially with metal being more mainstream about 20 years ago, for you guys to still be relevant in this way, how have you had to adapt? How's the band had to adapt from then to this point?
Yeah, we're very lucky, and I don't ever take credit for it. I kind of like, I don't really know. Can I say I don't know and still sound like I'm not stupid? I really don't know, but I do think that one of the things Skillet has done that perhaps other artists in our genre haven't done is we've been willing to go outside of the box of metal and be like, hey, maybe this would be cool with a drum machine. You know, maybe it doesn't have to be live drums. That's a real no-no in metal. That's looked at as like selling out a little bit. And when I like, a lot of the artists that I like are merging things. You see that with hip-hop. I guess if you really want to go back to Run DMC when I was growing up, you know, I didn't think rap would last. You know, when I first heard rap, I'm like, this ain't going to last. This is weird. And next thing you know, of course, that's supposed to be funny because rap rules the world.
Exactly.
But people started mixing it with other things, and now pop music, to me, is more urban than it is traditionally pop music, the way I grew up. So now I think Skillet's been able to say, hey, I can't rap, by the way, but we draw a lot of hip-hop influences into our beats. That's something Linkin Park did as well.
Yeah.
And a lot of rock fans are like, oh, you can't do that, but young people like it. So the young people is when you're going to keep making new fans.
Exactly.
So that's the only thing I can take credit for, which isn't much.
Wow.
I love that.
Yeah, that's
real interesting.
Yeah, because like you were saying with Run DMC and especially during that time with the Walk This Way record.
Oh, yeah.
Because even my father speaking about how much of a big, because him being a huge hip hop head, it was kind of like hearing, like, I believe it was Mick Jagger, right?
Aerosmith.
I'm sorry, it was Aerosmith. So him like, what the hell is this? And that actually got him into like listening to a little bit more rock and roll, a little bit more like fluid funk and stuff like that, or like funk like Jamiroquai and stuff like that. I remember hearing J.K. when I was like the 5th grade. It was Return of Space Cowboy.
Right.
I remember listening to it because it was in my my Apple Music library. Like it just came on screen one day, on the shuffle. It came on one day. I was like, I like this song. I was like, oh damn, I forgot I like this type of music. But it's kind of interesting to have you guys, you know, how you blend it all in to generate and bring in new fans. Another question I have for you is when you first got into, because you guys the band started in 1996.
Yeah.
For you, how did the metal community receive your type of metal?
Skillet's always been kind of different.
Yeah.
A lot of the, of course, the religious side of it. Some people don't quite get that, and it's funny because I was just writing something today on my computer because somebody hit me. You might find this interesting. I think you will because people don't hear this kind of stuff a lot. We just got off of a tour. We were headlining, and when we tour with other bands that are not religious, which I love, if we're the headlining act, we ask them, hey, could you not cuss on stage? Because our fans, we have a lot of kids who will proceed, and a lot of families, and we just ask them to do that because our fans won't dig it. It'll go better for you if you don't, and we would appreciate it, you know. And you know, when you're an opening act, in my view, your responsibility is to make. Well, you're warming up the audience for whoever you're headlining for. So when I go out and open for artists, which is a privilege, if I get to go with Korn or Papa Roach or Shinedown or whoever that is, I don't talk about my faith in God between my songs because that's not my gig. It's their gig, and I'm there to make their fans happy. That's just respect, you know? Well, if somebody hit me and they said, man, there's some radio station that's making fun of you guys because you're on tour, and the band was saying that they actually had to cuss, and they're saying it's just so not rock and roll and this, that, and the other. And I was just writing something about it because I'm like, I don't want to like be confusing, but I think you're not rock and roll because rock and roll is not about conforming. It's about non-conforming. That's what the whole gig was about. And you take rock and roll all the way back to its roots, which is actually blues. Blues wasn't about conforming. Blues was about singing about your problems and singing about the world, and it's about soul and emotion. So I just kind of look at it. I think it's probably fair to say another reason we've been successful is because I just don't give a crap, you know, if they make fun of it. I'm writing something just a little tongue-in-cheek, but to say, I think you might not be the one that's rock and roll, you know. Rock and roll, to me, was about non-conforming, and it was about, to me, having a great time listening to music, you know. I never grew up listening to Queen and hearing F-bombs on records. That's just
true.
not the way I grew
Yeah.
up. So
Yeah.
all my favorite artists don't sing like that. And no hate to anybody who does. It's art. They should do what they want to do.
Yeah, but it's not impossible because it's seen so much today. I
Yeah.
get what you're saying because the Queen is probably the best example. The amount type of music they were able to make, it's so timeless and it's really good music. Because I remember when the movie came out.
Yeah, last year that was good.
Bohemian
huh?
Rhapsody?
Yeah, Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah,
I
I
saw
got
it with
you.
a couple of friends of mine, and she loved the movie. I wasn't really too educated on Queen because I don't really have that rock background. But after like seeing that movie, I was like really respected what he was able to accomplish, especially what rock and roll was back in that day. Especially
Yeah.
a question I have for you is because conformity is such is definitely not rock and roll, but the music industry is something that forces all artists to kind of
Yeah.
conform in some way. You guys started again in '96 and still relevant to this day. The music industry has changed a lot since then. Like you were
Yeah.
probably around where albums, record sales were a big deal. Then coming into the early aughts, that's like Napster era and stuff like that, where it's kind of blended into both. And now we're in the streaming age. How has Skillet had to kind of adjust in order to survive in this time?
Yeah, it's interesting. Sometimes I don't like my fans to know that I was around before the internet. Skillet was around before the internet. When I heard of the internet, it sounded like science fiction to me. That might sound like a joke, but
Well,
imagine a world where you
Yeah, we grew up in it. Yeah, so we're
Do you
used
remember
to
the
it.
movie
Well,
The Net?
No.
Well,
I never
actually, to say for our generation specifically, because we're both 23 now, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm 20. I just turned 23. I still remember a time where you had to go outside to like play with your friends.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't until we got into
Right.
like late high school, early college that Snapchat got jumping, and then Instagram kind of really took over our lives. But even still, like to say that I always had like some sort of dial-up internet when in my house.
Right.
But it's always interesting to hear somebody's perspective because no offense, like you're like a dinosaur to us now. Like,
I know. I'm like, oh man, my daughter's almost 17. This sucks. Yeah, man. Oh man,
Well, like, being
I can
around-
still do 100 push-ups straight.
I
All
can't
right,
do.
you
I
know
can't
what
do.
I'm saying?
I can't do 10. So
I can barely do 5, so you got that on me.
It's really funny because, well, you won't know probably. There was a movie called The Net with Sandra Bullock in like 95, maybe 1995. And I swear, I thought it was complete science fiction.
Yeah.
It was about this internet thing, and it took over identity. The identity. And I was like, what a cool science fiction thing. They're like, yeah, I mean, obviously it's sci-fi, but the internet's real. And I was like, what's real? And so when we first started our band, all of a sudden, you start. My guitar player was like, you got to have a website. And we started seeing fans. He's like, "Oh, that's a fan of ours that we're friends on the website." And I'm like, "What are you talking about, bro?" So all of a sudden, you start making fans from your website, and then came MySpace, which is a huge platform for music.
Yeah.
So what worked for us was that we began to be on the very forefront of that social media. Finding out that radio wasn't going to play Skillet. They didn't like the Christian thing. They didn't like the fact that we had keyboards and drum machines. They thought it wasn't very rock and roll. So we just said, we're going to hit the social media fans. And in 2006, we released a record that sold 500,000 copies without a single radio hit. It was MySpace kids. It was people like, dog, I heard about you guys from my friend's MySpace or my friend's ringtone. Like when ringtones were really
ringtone
big.
music
Yeah,
was
when
really-
you
My friend's ringtone. I was like, "Who is that?" They're like, "It's Skillet. It's underground." And that propelled us to on the next album get radio. And when radio hit, Skillet, it sold a couple million records on that next album. So for us, it was always about treating fans good, being yourself, being authentic, not trying to follow what someone else is doing, but just being, hey, this is who Skillet is. If you don't dig it, no worries, man. No worry. Everybody likes something. But good people like Skillet. No, I'm kidding. Moral people.
product-
Only
I
the
love
moral
that.
folks.
Product placement there, right there, folks. If you're a good person, listen to Skillet.
I do have a question for you though.
Yeah, man.
Skillet, such an identifiable name. Where did you guys come up with
Oh,
that?
it's the worst name in the world. All right.
All the pots and pans, man.
I know of all of them.
Honestly, it's one of those names. Luckily, in my opinion, about 5 years ago, I finally went, you know what? It looks cool written down. You know what I mean? Some band name, Korn is a name like that. When I first heard Eminem, all I could think about, someone was like, it's called Eminem. And I was thinking, like candy? And they're like, no, it's spelled E-M. I'm like, what, Eminem? And then you see it, you're like, oh, that's cool. He's a good rapper. So, Skillet ended up looking cool written down, but you gotta put yourself in the 90s. And in the 90s, the cooler you were, the dumber your band name was. So I mean, just throw Pearl Jam, Korn, Blink 182. Everybody had numbers in there. You know, everybody had numbers. They were spelling it incorrectly on purpose. It was the thing. You know, 50 Cent. And so it was just, you know, it was kind of like Skillet. That'll be cool because it's so dumb. But the idea was that we were all from different bands. And our sound was very much like taking a lot of different ingredients. So they said, oh, it's like taking a bunch of ingredients and throwing it on a skillet and making something new. And somebody was like, you should call it Skillet, dude. That'd be funny.
Shout out to that guy.
Yeah.
So here we are.
Wow.
I never thought it'd last this long.
Oh,
You know?
man, as long it did, because you guys are on your 10th studio album at this point, right?
Yeah,
August
baby.
2nd.
Victorious, right?
Victorious.
Yeah, man.
Yep.
August 2nd. How's that feel, man?
Yeah.
Good. We're playing, of course, new tracks tonight, and releasing records is exciting. It's mainly exciting when they're finally out because you're like,
We were just talking to our artist about that. Like, she's in the process of writing her new current album now. And she was just doing. You probably heard Bryn Cartelli. She had like the whole section sold out. But she was hard to just as she was performing, she was going, "Oh, I wish I can just perform the songs that I know is about to come out pretty soon and stuff like that." Man, so it must be pretty exciting for you guys to be able to share that with your fans now.
It is,
Yeah.
you know. I mean, I think some of it is that you start getting this new stuff, and you're like, oh, this is so fresh, it's so whatever. But then the work that goes into releasing an album.
Yeah.
Is so great. The publicity is the promotion is so exhausting that once it's finally out, you're just like, even if nobody buys it, I'm just glad it's out, man. It's just a ton of work. And then you're putting yourself out there, and then all the critics come out, you know. And in the end, who cares about the critics? You want the fans to be happy. And if fans are like, new record's dope, then you're celebration.
Did you guys
gotta make the fans happy.
approach? Did you guys approach this new album differently from previous ones?
A little bit, you know.
Okay.
I don't want to say we approach it like it's all new, but there is something that actually is singularly very new, which is that we recorded the record ourselves, which we hadn't done before.
Okay.
So we recorded the album while on the road, and the reason for me is that like you're on the road and you get really inspired by fans. Like people come up to you and say the weirdest stuff, like, dude, your song, this is real. They'll be like, I was literally taking pills, gonna kill myself. It came on the radio and saved my life. I didn't even know who you were. They tell you this stuff, and it's all like, as you're walking through a meet and greet line, and you're like, that's the most crazy thing I've ever heard, that my song did that, you know? Somebody came up to me and they were like, dude, what'd he say to me? I was addicted to meth, and I had a 2-year-old kid. My wife just ran off with my kid. And I heard your song on the radio, and I decided I'm going into rehab. I went into rehab, came out 2 years later. I've been clean for 6 years. I got my kid back, and it's all because of this song, you know. And you're like, what? So you hear this stuff, and I get inspired. I'm like, well, I want to write a song tonight because I'm all jacked up. Then you write this song, and then they're like, okay, cool. In 3 years you'll record it, and then you're like, oh, I'm gonna lose it, you know, I'm gonna lose that excitement. So I want to go in the studio tomorrow and write something that I believe, because I'm excited. So we just carried it on the road, kind of like what you're doing now, you know. We've carried our crap, and then when I get inspired by that, or when the spirit moves, whatever you want to call it, I go, okay, we're gonna write this and record it tomorrow, and then you're ready to release that album.
I love it. I love it.
That's
real
my-
quick before we let you get out of
Yeah.
here, thank you for sitting down with us. Thank you for taking time. I
Oh,
do
sure, I loved
appreciate that. What is your? Where can everybody find you on social media, or the band and everybody?
Yeah. All right. The easiest thing to do is just remember the word skillet. It's easy to remember because it's dumb, but it's like a pan, okay? Skillet.com, Skillet Music on Instagram, Facebook. If you go to skillet.com, you'll find everything, all the new music, and you'll find the individual band members' own pages.
Okay.
Everybody's got their own stuff going on for fun. If you really, you know, want to hear me talk about pop culture, like Stranger Things, you know, stuff like that.
I
I
love
gotta
that.
get on that.
Yeah.
No, it's a good show, man.
It's a good
You're
show.
missing out.
Kids be getting like lost in different dimensions and stuff like
Oh,
that.
it's awesome.
trippy.
Yeah.
If you make it to 60, that's a good story for your grandkids.
It is.
Before, final question for you: what is your definition of success?
Oh man, success to me is not selling out, you know. Is being who you are, everybody has just semantics. Who you're called to be,
Yeah.
who God made you to be, who you want to be. Some people say your most honest self. That sounds like weird New Age talk, but if that's the way you want to call it, be your honest self. Don't sell out, because in the end you'll be like, yeah. This is why a lot of people, they got the money, they got the fame, but they don't have the success they wanted. They did something that they didn't want to do to have to earn it, you know. So that's my idea anyway.
Well, you heard it here first, folks. Again, thank you, John, for sitting down with us.
All right.
Everyone, as always, this episode's been brought to you by Mellowship Entertainment and the Big E. I'm Brad.
I'm Devin.
And this